All right, guys, so here is the second video related to the one you just saw. And this is on state changes. So we're looking now at how the matter changes form. So we talked to solid, liquid, gas. Now we have to talk about when a solid becomes a liquid, when a liquid becomes a gas, when a gas becomes a solid. We kind of have to go over those specifics. All right, so changing states. A matter can change from one state to another when energy is either released or absorbed. So I want you to think about energy in the terms of like heat. If I'm absorbing or releasing it, if I'm releasing energy, it could be an explosive way. If I'm absorbing it, I'm taking heat in. So if I was an ice cube and I started to melt, I would be absorbing heat. Okay, so that's what it means to change state. So when we think of matter, we have to consider whether or not, we have to look at energy releasing or absorbing, okay? All right, so a pyramid can be made, and this is something I would suggest drawing in your notes as we go through it. So we've got our solid over here, we've got our gas up here, and we've got our liquid right here. We're gonna actually be going through what happens when we go from one to the next and back and forth and such. So in your notes, I would probably draw something like this out so that you can put the correct terminology. The other thing to pay attention to is up here, the different color marks or arrows or lines are whether or not there's energy being absorbed or energy being released, okay? All right, so if we move from a solid to a liquid, let me erase this so we don't get confused on that. I don't want y'all to get confused. All right, so if we go from a solid to a liquid, it's called melting. Okay, so solid to liquid is called melting. So melting, the change from a solid state to the liquid state. Okay, and really the definition that I would want you to know or understand, it's a temperature at which a substance goes from a solid to a liquid. That is its melting point. So the melting point is the temperature at which a solid becomes liquid. Don't tell me it's when a solid becomes a liquid. It's a temperature. Okay, there's a specific temperature for all things that the solid will become a liquid. All right, so we went solid to liquid. Now let's go liquid to solid. Okay. So that's freezing. We want to make sure we know that, freezing. And freezing, you're changing state. You're changing from a liquid to a solid. That's when we freeze something. If we're looking at the freezing point, this is the temperature at which a substance changes from a liquid to a solid. That's its freezing point. That's what you'd have to define freezing point as, okay? All right, so we finished the bottom part of our triangle. Let's go and move our way from a liquid to a gas. And that's called vaporization. So in vaporization, we're changing from a liquid to a gas. That's the vaporization part. And the temperature of the substance does not change. Okay, so it's just a change. It's just more than likely a pressure issue that's causing this change. But we don't actually increase temperature. But it could be that it's kept at a steady temperature, and that has then caused the molecules to go into a gas state. All right, so liquid to gas. All right, gas to liquid would be condensation. All right, so condensation, you want to think about a cloud. So we're changing from a gas to a liquid. All right, as the temperature of the substance drops, its particles will start slowing down. So if we think about a cloud, so think about this cloud right here, okay? When the water gets evaporated off the earth, it goes up into the clouds, okay? As we move upward in the atmosphere, the temperature is going to decrease. So once that water moves up, the temperature is going down, the particles are going to start slowing down, okay? And that's going to get us condensation. So we slow it down. Remember our diagrams, the gas is moving really crazy. The liquid's not moving quite as crazy. So when it slows down, that's when we become a liquid. That's when we condense in the clouds. Okay. All right, let's go from a solid to a gas. And that's called sublimation. And actually going from a solid to a gas or a gas to a solid. So really this arrow should be going both ways, because the only term I know it to be from solid to gas and gas to solid is something called sublimation. Sublimation, and you might know it if you've ever looked at dry ice or anything like that. Sublimation is when a substance goes from a solid to a gas. It skips the liquid stage, basically. So you drop solid dry ice into water, and it's going to go straight to a gas. So the dry ice is a solid and then a gas. There's no liquid stage, and that's sublimation. If we go from a gas to a solid, it's still sublimation. We've kind of skipped a step, basically. All right, so we've got sublimation, condensation, vaporization, melting, and freezing. All right. If you have any questions, please make sure you see your teacher. You will be doing some stuff in class to sort of look at these state changes, but you guys know these state changes. Just be familiar with things like freezing point, melting point. It's a temperature. It's not just we went from a solid to a liquid or a liquid to a gas. Have any questions to your teacher, and we'll be talking to you later.